Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the Hope Collective, and today this video is for group 2 of the pick a card reading that I started with significator cards from the Garden Dragons deck. So here are the significator cards for pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. If you'd like to see the process of me shuffling the Garden Dragons deck and selecting these cards, you can refer to the video for pile 1, which will be linked in the description box. And as soon as I have filmed pile 3, that video will also be linked in the description box. They'll all link to each other as soon as they are all posted. And so this pick a card is for messages from the spirit guides and higher selves of this collective, whatever you need to hear right now, whatever would most benefit you. But I'm calling it a pick a dragon reading because of these significator cards. So for group 1, we have the apple dragon with health. And with these garden dragon significator cards, the intention is also that dragon energy will infuse and protect and oversee the reading as well. Pile 2, which we'll be getting to in a moment, is signified by the lemon lime dragon union. And as I mentioned when I pulled the cards, I think it's very fitting and perfect that group 2 has a two-headed dragon for the significator. And group 3 is the mushroom dragon with illusion as the keyword. So take your time, feel free to pause the video if you need to, take some deep breaths and meditate if you need to in order to tune into which group is calling to you, which group has messages for you. And without further ado, let's get into group 2 for today's video. So I'm going to shuffle the, cards are falling all over the place. I'm going to shuffle the Unfolding Path Tarot to get started. Spirit guides and higher selves of group 2. What does group 2 need to hear today? Actually, should I read the description for the lemon lime dragon before I get into this? Yes, I almost forgot about that. I was so excited to get into the tarot. All right, let's set this aside. Lemon lime dragon. The butterfly on this card is standing out to me. We have group 2, we have the two heads of the dragon, and the butterfly and the dragon also have two wings. And I'm getting a message about how any polarity in this world, a flow back and forth between the two, is needed for a state of health in the universe. A certain balance is needed. You cannot fly with full control and intention and self-direction if you don't have full use of both of your wings. Let's see what this guidebook has to say. If you haven't seen me use the Garden Dragon deck before, it's a very interesting deck. It's partly fun and games and it's partly spiritual. So it has these fictional stories about the biology of these made-up dragons. Keyword union. There are only a few garden dragons that sport more than one head. The lemon lion is of the rare polycephaly variety. You can easily identify this creature by the color as an adult. Identifying the juvenile by color alone is more challenging. The best thing to do if you find a green two-headed dragon is look at the dual tails. There will be a distinct, if faint, color striation showing. Our lemon lime dragon seeks out the sun. Long warm days are its preferred climate, so look for them in the tropics and southern areas of North America and Europe. This is one of the more easily domesticated dragons, but the society members who have attempted this caution beginners to avoid this species. Due to the mischievous nature of this dragon, many a new dragon keeper has given up after a round with this sourpuss dragon. The tails are the same colors, but the pattern varies so that one is wide yellow with narrow green, while the other is the opposite. They complement each other. Perhaps this is why they have never been noted as stuck in one spot. Observers report that they are always able to fly effortlessly toward a shared goal. When the lemon lime dragon turns up, look for someone who wants to partner with you. Union is the name of this dragon's game. Just like the lemon and the lime, there are some things that just go together easily. Be open to a joint effort coming your way. Also, it's an excellent time to reach out your hand to offer your friendship. These are the associations that will last you a lifetime. Don't look for someone just like you. Instead, find someone whose talents and energy complement yours. Yes, so definitely some echoes of that message about needing use of both of your wings to fly, and applying that both internally and externally to relationships with others, where if there's an imbalance in a relationship or an unevenness where someone is creating a lopsided dynamic by pulling the other towards their goals, or the other is allowing a lopsided dynamic by allowing themselves to be pulled towards that person's goals without expressing and enforcing their boundaries, then things will get sticky and tricky in that case. Whereas this dragon is, as it said, known for not getting stuck. It's known for being able to carry out both mischief and serious goals. It's known for being able to fly effortlessly because it is an exemplar and a master of this union energy, of this balancing both wings and both heads to work together and fly effortlessly and be able to soar in whichever direction it wants to. In the last passage, these are the associations that will last you a lifetime stood out to me. So there's definitely opportunities for this group at the moment, either already or incoming, to forge connections that are not just fleeting. And that can be very, can almost seem too good to be true, because it can be very frustrating to deal with connections in life where it just seems like you're constantly drawn towards people where you're drawn to them to help them, or they're drawn to you to help you, and it's just always these temporary connections, and there can be drama or hurt feelings as a result. But there is at least one connection, either that's recently come into your life or that is inbound. I just heard that word, inbound. So it's already on its way to you. The timing might still be in a flux, but it's already on its way to you, and it can't be stopped at this point. It can't be blocked at this point, unless it is truly by you exercising your free will and you meet them and you say, no, actually, I'm not interested in this person. They cannot be blocked from just being inbound, though. And someone complementary. Yeah, there was that message about don't seek someone who's the same as you, but rather, complementary, someone who's the other wing. The left and the right wing might be symmetrical, but they're not identical, the same way your left and right hand are not identical. But there was a message that came through to me with that about paying attention to what things you have in common with this person and what things you don't. Because that's part of how you'll tell whether this is a connection that can last you through this lifetime, or at least for a very long time. Because some differences that you have with people are boundaries of yours, and that's rightly so. That's not something for you to neglect. But other differences are areas of workability and flexibility where you are actually complementary to each other. So that's something that Spirit is drawing me to have you just observe, just notice and pay attention to in a very non-judgmental, neutral way, to find out what you learn about yourself and also about the other people that you have recently met or are going to be meeting as you move forward at this time. We have the Knight of Swords. Is this in reverse or upright, Spirit? Okay, in reverse. I'm being drawn to put this over here. Let's just take a look at this image more closely. This is very playful, similar to that description of the lemon lime dragon. And very fast moving. Almost like the image that I'm getting with all this wind whipping around the night and how playful and mischievous these creatures are, is of a bird that doesn't really like to land for too long. I just heard an opportunity incoming that could like an opportunity coming and going very quickly. So like keeping your eyes open for an opportunity so that you don't miss it is a message coming through from Spirit. And I'm being drawn to the actual sword on the Knight of Swords. I just heard the sword cuts both ways. That is definitely partly a reference to the two wings balance that we've been talking about before. But I'm going to need some clarification, Spirit Guides. Spirit Guides, I need some clarification on this Knight of Swords. They're guiding me to pull more from the Unfolding Path Tarot rather than go to the guidebook or anything like that as of yet. Okay, what's this card? The Empress in reverse. Why do we have these reversals, Spirit? I just heard not yet. So there's something coming through about these reversals, not indicating a blockage to this connection incoming, but just simply that the divine timing is still aligning and the fruit is not quite ripe yet. Like how we were talking about in the Garden Dragon description about how lemons and limes, when they're not ripe yet, can be a little bit difficult to distinguish. There's something about this opportunity needs to ripen. And then with what we also heard about an opportunity passing quickly, a fruit can also go from ripe to overripe quite quickly, depending on the fruit. That doesn't happen so much with lemons and limes. Interestingly, they stay fresh and ripe without going overripe for a good chunk of time. I was just looking at the imagery on the Empress, and I'm being drawn to the wand that she's holding, but what about it? The crystal on it. I've never been drawn to her scepter so much. There's something like an air of this being a magic wand that I'm being drawn to. It is in your power to create, but at the same time, there is this message of the not yet in terms of the connection or connections, friendships, romantic partnership, or partnerships that are coming through. It's not quite time for it yet, but it's also already inbound and can't be stopped. Let's see what else is coming. I guess that is similar to the fruit ripening and the pregnancy of the Empress. The fruit is already ripening. It's not going to be able to be stopped, but it's also not ready to be eaten yet. It's already there. It may even already be in your hands or in your field. I'm being told that's a more apt metaphor. It's in your field, but not yet in your hands, because you'll pick it when it's ripe. And similarly with the pregnancy, it's already happening. It's inevitable, but it's not ready to be born yet. We have another Unfolding Path Tarot, the High Priestess. This came out for group 1 too. If you were drawn to group 1, this could be a sign that there are messages for you in that group as well. We have the double crescent moon next to the full moon in this card, very similar to all this wing imagery and double-headed imagery that we've had here. And I'm being really drawn to how the High Priestess is staring directly at you, almost as if staring directly into your soul. I almost feel, the feeling that I'm getting is as if one of our spirit guides is staring through this card and just saying, don't BS yourself. And I'm actually getting with that don't BS yourself, it's like stop telling yourself that real, legitimate, trustworthy connections are too good to be true. It's like you've experienced deep connections in the past, and yes, things went wrong with them, but you've experienced that this level of trust that you are now telling yourself is too good to be true is in fact real, and you are an example of it yourself, just like we were talking about the lemon lion dragon being an example of this type of trusting, honest, effective connection. You're an example of this yourself. Stop BSing yourself that you're never going to find it in someone else. Of course you are. And at the same time, the spirit guide that the energy I'm getting from spirit guides through this card is acknowledging, like, is very grounded in the fact that it's not an of course when you've been hurt and you've been betrayed. It doesn't feel like an of course, and they're not really saying that it is, but they're also saying, don't lie to yourself, don't close yourself off from what you want most out of fearing that it's too good to be true. There's also, with the High Priestess and the Knight of Swords, I'm also getting this flash of sudden insight. The Knight of Swords is so fast-moving. Fast-moving and playful in the pursuit of their goal or what they want, their desire. And the High Priestess is so deeply attuned to intuition. So what we were talking about before with a sort of blink and you'll miss it opportunity may be less about an external opportunity and more about a flash of insight. And that don't BS yourself message. When you get a flash of insight, don't write it off as, oh, that was just an imaginative thought. That wasn't really real. Tap in and check in with your intuition, because that flash of insight may very well be a real intuitive flash. And you have the tools to check in with your gut, check in with your emotions, check in with your feelings, check in with your spirit guides. I just heard with your own tarot cards, so some of you must read tarot for yourself. You have the ability to check in with these tools, both internal and external, both mental and physical, about interpreting the flashes of intuition you get. And I'm hearing some of them don't really need to be interpreted all that much. There's a flash of intuition coming in related to a connection that either has recently entered your life or is about to enter your life, that you're being told to just take at face value and explore it in the 3D. So if you're getting a flash of intuition of like, oh, there's something for me, there's something here for me in this connection with this person, just simply directly, but with discernment, with caution, explore the connection and find out what there is for you to learn. And whether you find out that it's something that your free will wants to say yes to more of or doesn't want to, we spoke to that before about how it's always in your free willpower to say no to something even if that ripe fruit is already in your field. You can find that out by exploring the connection directly and take the flash of insight that is guiding you to do so at face value. Yes, check in with your own intuition to confirm, but don't undermine yourself by second guessing more than necessary for safety's sake. Is there another application, Spirit? That flash of insight might look and feel different or have other details or be more detailed. Like for some of you, that flash of insight really is going to be get to know this person, find out more, see what role they can have in your life. For others of you, it might be a different flash of insight, but something related to a connection with this overarching theme being this union, lemon lime dragon. And the Empress, with the Empress always being depicted as some form of fertile or pregnant, there is something about what you can bring into the world with another person, whether it is that you are looking for a partner to have children with, or whether you could partner on a creative project with a friend or a romantic partner or a professional connection, or whether it's just simply bringing joy into the world because you and this new friend or this new partner would, perhaps host gatherings or lead hikes or whatever it might be in your community. There's something that you and this person who has recently come in or is going to can bring into the world together. And like I keep saying, your spirit guides want you to remember that you have free will. You can always say no if you're like, you know what, I've learned something from this person, but this actually isn't a connection I want to last my whole life. This has taught me something about what I do want. I'm going to move on from here. That's always within your power. And you are kind of, I'm hearing, ripe and ready for some longer lasting connections to come in, even if it's not a whole ton of them, a few of them. What else, Spirit? There's this air current swirling all around the Knight of Swords, and especially around the head. And with the Knight of Swords being in reversed, I'm getting that, how quickly that flash of intuition comes in and how certain it is, and also how quickly certain people or events come into your life may actually feel a little bit dizzying to you, a little bit like a whirlwind. So with this, and that is kind of echoed by the Empress reverse, because the Empress is very grounded, very rooted, very connected. So to have the Empress upside down reflects a little bit of ungrounding. But we have the High Priestess upright, reminding you that you can always come back to your connections to yourself, to the divine, the universe, and your spirit and intuition to reground yourself and allow, in the shakeup, you can simply come back to your center and just let what isn't meant for you fall away. You don't need to put a lot of effort into a sorting process. You can just come back to center, create peace, create stillness, and just observe what falls away and what kind of sticks. Or what is worth holding on to, what feels worth holding on to is actually what I'm getting. Because there's, again, that theme of there being an opportunity or connection that you could let pass you by and you're being guided not to. Again, as long as it truly is in alignment for you, you never have to take that if it actually does end up feeling more in alignment for you to leave it. But there's a strong suggestion that it may very well be in alignment for you to not let this pass you by. So it's not, there is a neutrality, a non-judgmental observation here, coming back into stillness to ground and observe. And a lot of the dizziness will just simply fall away. And there may be certain elements, certain connections that you are actually guided to go, hang on, I'm not going to let that fall away. That's worth holding on to. I'm curious. I feel a desire to explore here. A desire to satisfy inquisitiveness and curiosity and find out what there is there. And so I'm actually choosing. It's not just a matter of this sticking. It's a matter of me choosing not to let it pass by and to actually explore. And using your keen insight and the practice of coming back to center, back into stillness, back into peacefulness, so as to use non-judgmental observation and compassion to reach those conclusions, those determinations. What else, Spirit? Okay, I'm being drawn to the energy oracle cards. And shaking the camera a little bit by accident. Sorry, guys. All right, there's the energy oracle deck, if you're not familiar. Having the major arcana there with the Empress and the High Priestess definitely reflects both your immense power in your intuition and your guidance, how tapped in you are. And also, especially with the Empress, again, being so planted, there is the potential for long-term results. You know, the Empress is associated with Taurus energy. It's associated with, or she is associated with, this full span from fertility to harvest, from planting to harvest type of energy. She sees the whole season through. So these major arcana definitely do reflect that even though with the Knight of Swords this may be something that comes in quickly, there is really long-term potential. You have staying power is something that's coming through. Like, regardless of what you choose regarding specific connections, you have staying power and the ability to see things through to long-term results. So don't, again, with that sort of don't BS yourself message, don't assign that power to someone else or to any other external force when that's a power that you own within yourself. to see your dreams through to fruition. That's a power that you have and that other people can add to, but cannot take away from you. And again, with the Knight of Swords reversed, there may be, yes, there is a certain speed here, but there may also be some stops and starts. You may be someone who's in a position right now where you feel like, I've been trying to find friends, I've been dating, I've been socializing, I'm not really seeing anything come to fruition. So there could potentially be a frustration there, or even as someone comes in quite quickly, there could just be some stops and starts in you getting to know each other. That doesn't necessarily mean actual bumps in the road or obstacles or any tensions between the two of you. But there could just be, for example, times where one or the other of you is traveling and you just tend to fall out of touch at first before more investment is made. We have, the ninth energy oracle card, a broken heart. That shocked me a little bit coming out, as you can tell. This could have to do with the stops and starts, where the trust issues that one or both of you have could contribute to the stops and starts. However, even though we've covered that this group may rightly so have some experience with trust issues, what I'm getting more is that there may be a recent relationship end for the person that you've just met or who you're about to meet, and that may be why they're hesitant to jump into things feet first with you. Even if you're just getting to know each other as friends, they may just be hesitant to be in constant communication with someone or open up quickly to someone, because we have this broken heart image here where the heart is actually not completely broken. There's a crack, but the parts are still together and they don't look like they even... it doesn't look as though the crack goes all the way through the heart. It looks as though it's mending. That's what I'm getting here. So it's just like this person may just need a little time to restore themselves before they enter into more relationships. We have envy number 20. I'm going to go to the guidebook for these in a minute, but I'm definitely feeling like with the Knight of Swords and the envy, there's more to be clarified here. What is the envy card all about? And I'm also getting more cards from this deck that want to come through, and I'm not sure if they're going to be clarifications or more parts to the story. Let's find out. Okay. Goddess of the Moon, number 52. Love that card. It's just gorgeous. Definitely relates to the High Priestess. It relates to you having insight within yourself and access to spiritual guidance that will see you through this situation correctly, in a way that is in alignment for you, in a way that is safe and nourishing for you. This feeling of the moon charging the water in this image and charging the person, because although it's casting its glow on the person from the outside, it also feels as though this person is luminescent from within. So, and we got the message about sunlight with the lemon lime dragon. So you may be someone who feels really recharged by sunlight or moonlight. If you aren't really sure, maybe don't think you are such a person, you might want to try it. You might want to try taking some walks in the daytime, some walks at the nighttime, or just sitting outside in a space that is comfortable for you, you know, reading a book or listening to a podcast, and see how it affects you. Because getting that type of recharging could be very healing for you, I'm getting. And I think that does also reflect to the healing that this other individual needs. With friendships, I do get that your friendship could potentially be healing for each other. If there is a romantic connection that you are considering starting, I am getting that part of why this delay is divine timing is that it's very important for the two of you not to enter into a connection with any any feelings or thoughts whatsoever of fixing each other, of being each other's healer. It's why it's so important that this person enter into the connection whole. And like I said with this image, they're almost there. Just like we talked about with the fruit, already being in your field ripening, it's almost there. The Empress in this particular depiction is very close to full-term pregnancy. There's not long to wait, I just heard. And we have action, so that's definitely confirmation about there being not long to wait. And we also have 2 horses in this card, just like we have the lemon and lime, the 2 heads, the 2 wings. And it's interesting, there's these clouds melting away in the sun and the horses frolicking in the field. So there is this sort of like seriousness and gloominess and loneliness fading away as the sun shines down on these horses. Connection. Let's see what we got from the guidebook, because I'm being guided not to pull more cards right this second. All right, which one do we want to start with? We want to start with the broken heart. Grief and loss. This card shows a heart broken open, revealing darkness, emptiness, and a grief-filled tear. The hurt may be from long ago, or it may be the pain from a more recent event. Either way, a deep healing is called for now. Vent your feelings and release the person or situation involved. Affirm that you are reclaiming your power and peace of mind. Open your heart to the light of divine love and healing, and have compassion for yourself through this difficult process. Make self-care a priority now. As you let go of old experiences, you can open your heart to the true and abiding love that you so rightly deserve. So this does speak to your end of the connection and confirmation not to let past hurts veil your vision, like we talked about with the High Priestess. Like don't let your caution become a lie to yourself about what is and isn't possible in relationships. This didn't come out in reverse, but I'm going to read the reversed meaning because it's relevant. It says, the broken heart reversed marks a time of renewal and hope. The pain and trauma are behind you now, and you can trust that greater joy is on the way. Whatever has happened to hurt you in the past, you're now free to move on. The universe has much better things in store for you, so finish letting go of any residual grief and open your life to your new self-loving intention. Joyous connections will follow. Affirmation: I release the pain of the past and live with compassion for myself. Love heals and renews me now. I release the pain of the past and live with compassion for myself. Love heals and renews me now. We talked a little bit about coming back to center always, coming back to stillness and peace and neutral, non-judgmental, compassionate observation. And I'm being drawn to that message again because I can feel, with that Knight of Swords reversed, it can feel very easy to be tugged hither and thither and mentally influenced as events happen, as people come and go. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of humanity, that's part of life. But there is a guidance here to reset yourself with compassion for yourself, as this affirmation says. Non-judgmental, neutral observation of yourself. Learn about yourself, learn about others that way, and infuse yourself with compassion and heal yourself that way. Yeah, I'm still getting that in the context of the story of this reading, this broken heart card is speaking to the other person and their heart being in a healing process, and that being why there are some stops and starts in the connection. And these messages from the guidebook also being messages for you about your long-term healing journey and the big picture and how far you've come already in this healing and how much you have to be proud of, and to keep coming back to that core of self-compassion and self-worth that you have cultivated within yourself. Just like we've talked about the Empress cultivating plants, crops that can be harvested year after year, and you care for yourself the same way. You are a perennial plant. You bloom year after year. You bear fruit year after year, season after season. And in some seasons, you're not flowering, you're not bearing fruit. And in other seasons you are, and you are still worthy in every season. The lemon and lime tree are still a lemon and lime tree, even at the times of the year when there are no lemons or limes on them. that potential and that essence and that worth and value are still there no matter what. And I'm getting that this pile just needs affirmation of that. It's not that you don't already know it, but solidifying that helps give you that solid ground that we talked about coming back to when things are ungrounding or when you feel uncertain about a new connection. Instead of diving into these mental processes with the Knight of Swords reversed of analyzing and overthinking, just come back to that stillness and groundedness and peace and self-compassion. Come back to your center and observe and let reality tell you what it is instead of trying to figure out reality and tell it what it is. Let reality tell you what it is. If you're not sure about how you feel about someone, sit back and meditate and ask your feelings to arise, maybe even one by one, and see what they have to say to you. Maybe it'll turn out you have conflicting feelings that you can resolve, so that the two heads of the dragon can work together again and the two wings can work together again. Or maybe you'll discover that actually you really don't like this person in whatever way you thought you should. You just thought you should. And it will make it very clear. Or vice versa. Maybe you'll discover that you do like them, but you thought you shouldn't for some reason. And you can then bring resolve to the reasons you had for thinking that you shouldn't. And I'm being drawn back to the action card. This is a practice that we're being guided to in such detail because it will make action very clear and effortless. It might sound like it's sort of long-winded or circuitous, but it's really not. It's actually a process of simplification. So that action then becomes very simple because you're very clear on your heart's desire, and that makes it inevitably clear what to do to move towards it as a next step, even if you can't see the whole staircase yet. You can't predict all the seasons, but you can take stock of the one that you're in and respond to the current weather accordingly. You won't be able to predict if there's a drought next summer or lots of snow this coming winter, but you can respond appropriately to the current season and fly with the winds that are the currents of the wind with the Knight of Swords that are around you at the moment. Okay, I'm being guided to go to the Envy card in the guidebook next. What do we have here? Ooh, okay, I just got this feeling in my back with this message about being jealous of other people who are in relationships. I was a little bit not at my full alertness, and I just got woken up so hard by this message, you guys. So I just got this message about envy, just a spirit guide saying so solidly, unquestionably, don't be envious or jealous of other people's relationships. Don't covet other people's romantic relationships. Many people are not in relationships that are right for them, and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. That's part A. And part B is, even if that relationship is right for them, it would not be right for you. So it doesn't even make sense to actually wish you were in their shoes, because if it was you in their shoes, the shoes wouldn't fit. And it's not something wrong with you. It's that the shoes aren't the right size for you. They're not a style you would ever wear. It's this particular spirit guide is coming across with a very blunt, this is ridiculous. Don't be absurd, don't be silly. They're kind of poking fun at the very dramatic stylings of the individual in the Envy card. And of course, wanting close connections and supportive relationships and romance for yourself is wonderful and important and valid. They're not, this spirit guide is not invalidating any of those feelings or thoughts or desires. They're saying, again with that don't BS yourself thing, they're saying this gaze and this sword are very slice through the BS. That kind of clarifies something that I was trying to figure out before, so thank you, Spirit. So I was trying to figure out what I was missing, what I wasn't understanding about what I was feeling from those cards, so thank you. And I think this does call back to the sword cuts both ways message from the Knight of Swords. So that energy of your extremely valid and real and important desires simply needs to be consciously and intentionally channeled. Like, stop letting your thoughts run amok. If you are someone who's experiencing thoughts of envy or thoughts of despair, feel the feelings, but that energy of desire, and I'm getting such a strong ringing in my ears here, and I'm being told that's confirmation. So channel that energy of desire into, what is it that I love so much about that person's romantic relationship? What can I take from that and bring into dating in the future to help me know what my boundaries and my preferences and desires are and my needs in relationships? If I want it so bad that I feel like I'm dying of jealousy of this person, it must be a pretty important need and want for me in relationships. So how about, instead of sublimating that desire into envy of them, how about I own that desire consciously and I bring it to the table in future relationships? No passive aggressive petty BS, no expecting the other person to read my mind. I'm also not going to sit here and try to teach them step by step how to love me if they're not showing up, but I'm going to put my cards on the table instead of hiding what I really want and then being disappointed when I don't get it. And also channeling that desire that could be misguided into envy, also channeling that desire into, is there action I can take with this action card? What are ways that I actually enjoy of getting out there and meeting people? Is it dating apps? Is it going on social media to look for groups that organize like gaming events or outdoor activities in my area? Is it online fandom groups? Is it conventions? What is it? How do I like to get out there and meet people? And what can I realistically do? How can I channel this desire into action instead of festering over something that I wouldn't even really want if I knew the reality of it? And they're coming back to that part of the envy message. If you knew the reality of it, or you were in those shoes yourself, you wouldn't even want them. So stop, again, with that taking the veil off the eyes and not BSing yourself. Stop putting that veil over your eyes on purpose, just because it's like a comfortable, familiar rut to look at people who are in a relationship and be jealous and think, oh, what do they have that I don't? Well, every person is different. So that person has things you don't, and you have things they don't. And you want things that they don't. So it's time to it's time to be clear with the people that you enter into relationships with about what you want and what you have to offer. And that message did come through a little bit sternly, but there's also been a lot of other parts of this message that have been very affirming. So I think it's balanced. Let's see. Spirit, do we want to read the guidebook for the envy card? Okay, they're telling me no. Yeah, they're just affirming gratitude, to also notice the proof of positive things in your life. So whether it is love that you already have in your life, whether it's friendship that you already have in your life, whether it's love that you've experienced, how you've had both positive and negative elements to relationships you've had in the past. And you're like, you know what? I would never want that relationship again, but that part of it, I want that in my next relationship. And I'm going to bring that to the table as well. I'm like, you know what? I have so much more peace than I ever had before. I am so grateful for that, and I'm also going to protect it in my future relationships. I can be really proud of myself for that. Like, appreciating yourself and your unique worth, as well as what you already have in your life and all the potential before you with the Empress and the High Priestess. Lots of potential in this reading. Would it be best to read from the guidebook, Spirit, for any of the other energy oracle cards? Okay, let's go to the action card description. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. Energizing effort and willingness to work. This card tells you that now is the time for forward movement. Okay, I paused while reading that sentence because I just kind of heard a no from Spirit, which I think is going back to that not yet message from before. It's like, this time for action is imminent, but that isn't actually where you're at right this second. There is a little bit of a pause before things are ready. The galloping horses represent intentional and concerted action directed towards your goals. So that concerted part is really standing out because there's been a lot about harmony and union and working together towards goals in this reading. This card upright indicates that you are on the right track. The white horse is interaction of spirit and thought. The black is the outer work that still needs to be done. So yes, Spirit is kind of editing the message in the guidebook as I read, saying like, it's not yet time to increase your external effort. It's not yet time to externalize this work you've been doing in spirit and internally, but you are in the process of a breakthrough. And as you kind of reach the end, reach the cusp, you will feel that charge that is ready for that forward movement. You'll get that flash of intuition and insight. And now I'm being drawn to the Goddess of the Moon card. There was also a thread that Spirit pointed out in that guidebook description for action about taking responsibility for your own happiness. So just a confirmation of what we saw before about making sure that you're bringing honesty to the table in order to foster an environment of trust. Making sure that you are owning your needs and desires and boundaries rather than letting them slide. Goddess of the Moon, intuition going within. This card shows an internal spirit, eternal spirit, holding the bright reflective moon and standing in front of the crystal clear waters of a sparkling waterfall. Her arms are stretched upward, receiving the light of the moon, the light of inspiration. This card is all about intuition. I just realized how fitting it is that it's underneath the High Priestess in our layout here. The ability to receive insights from your soul's point of view. Receiving the card upright tells you that you have the power to get intuitive information on all types of issues, and now is the time to use it. The Goddess of the Moon brings you all sorts of information from the mundane to the spectacular. For instance, you could get the urge to take a different route home from work and find out later that you've avoided a 3-hour traffic jam. Or you might have an idea for a great invention, a stock investment, or a spellbinding novel. This card could also indicate a significant blossoming of psychic ability and mediumship, even on a professional level. You're always blessed with this ability to connect, but this card is telling you that now is the perfect time to open up. Get ready for the amazing inspiration this brings. Okay, so I just got a message that I realized I got it with almost a facepalm feeling of like, oh, this message was right in front of my face this whole time. For those of you listening who might already be in committed relationships or have some strife going on in friendships right now, we have this broken heart that's already partly mended, and we have these messages about processing and releasing feelings that are associated with envy and lack, and allowing yourself to return to a space of compassion and neutrality so that you can take inspired action once you get a flash of insight. And this stuff applies to mending any conflicts, repairing any conflicts or tensions within relationships that are already standing for some of you. That energy is subtler, and so it wasn't as in my face throughout this reading as the energy of this new connection that is coming in for a lot of you. For some of you, there's a breeze of fresh air coming into an existing relationship, and what you need to go within about is what needs you bring to the table that you maybe haven't been fully open about with this person before, and whether it truly is in your heart to stay in this relationship or not, and whether it's truly in your heart to keep this relationship the same way it's been or change something about it as opposed to leaving. What change can you bring to the table? So there's some self-exploration guided, and this has to do with some of the envy too. It's like, well, other people's relationships are also not perfect. Everyone's relationships have conflict. So release that concept. Don't blind yourself with that lie. Understand that everyone goes through things like this. And if this is not a situation that you're okay with, and there is not an acceptable resolution that you and this person are able to come to once you actually come to them and talk, then consider whether it is time to let go and walk away. But with that envy message, also maybe don't assume their point of view before you've talked to them. And maybe don't allow them to assume your point of view. Actually tell them. Because there was that message about, like, if you actually tried on the shoes, they wouldn't fit. So maybe you are seeing this other person as very carefree and unburdened. But if you actually talked to them, maybe they're seeing you the same way, and the two of you actually need to share each other's worries and each other's burdens so that you can work on them together and be allies against the problem instead of against each other. So there is still this big message of, like, new connections, new people incoming for this group as a whole, but there are some of you, it's a subtler energy, like I said, there are some of you where it is newness within existing connections that is really the underlying theme. And for some of you, or many of you, also like this theme of just approaching relationships in general in a new, fresh way. With this, putting your cards on the table, not being someone's healer, not expecting someone else to fix you, not expecting someone else to read your mind. So take what resonates and leave the rest, as always. There are certain parts of this reading that have been universal, regardless of which of these specific situations is yours, where you come back to center. Always feed your crops with the Empress, your core of self-worth and self-compassion, and bring that compassion and that honesty to the table to build trust with others and protect yourself if the way they respond is such that trust cannot be built or repaired. And let a slow building of trust happen, especially in new connections, if you are getting some green flags. We have all this green, especially in the lemon lime dragon and the action card. If you are getting green flags and aren't getting red flags at the beginning of a connection, let a slow building of process happen instead of cutting it off prematurely, like we've talked about with the ripening of fruit here. We have the affirmation from the Goddess of the Moon card. I have a strong intuitive voice. I freely receive guidance, and I understand and trust the messages I receive. We do have a full moon coming up as well, and that may be a significant time for this group I'm getting with the Goddess of the Moon card here. Especially with what came through before about charging under the light of the sun and of the moon. So that is definitely a night. Those 3 nights of and around the full moon are a time to try that charging that we discussed. And you may find that between now and this full moon, or I'm hearing the one after this, is a time where one or a few new connections that could be significant come in for you. So of course, keep your eyes and your senses open and see which people you meet this does actually apply to, and apply your own discernment there. But I am hearing that about between now and the next full moon, and also the one after that, as just being a significant time for this wave of newness, especially new potential connections, but also for figuring out resolution within current connections, if that part of the message does apply to you. Is there anything else, Spirit? Any other? Okay, I'm being told no more cards for today. And trust your intuition. I was just guided back to the High Priestess as just a final affirmation for this group. Trust your intuition and keep cultivating the safe space and the peace in your life, protecting the peace in your life, creating the space for you to trust your intuition, for you to be able to receive messages in such a way that you aren't confused and dizzy and constantly second guessing. Make the space for that, protect that peace. And you will, I just heard from Spirit, you will be just fine. You will be just fine. So thank you so much for tuning in today, Group 2. That is all I have for you at this moment. Take a look at my website in the description box and in my bio if you are interested in booking a personal reading with me. And feel free to check out my Instagram in the links in those locations as well if you're interested. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment to let me know how it resonated for you. Like and subscribe if you're interested in more content from me. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next reading. Have a wonderful rest of your day.